G'day, welcome to Wouldn't You Know It. I'm Josh, and in this episode we're going to make a three-legged stool with hand tools. Okay, what I've done there is cut the pieces that I'm going to need for the top to make our 300 by 300 mil seat. So what we might do is actually just plane the sides down with a hand plane, because I think it's too much effort to set up a machine. Let's go.
When planing, use wax on the sole to aid with lubrication. Book match your two adjacent pieces to ensure a nice flat surface when glued.
So they're ready to glue up. I'll put these in the clamps. I'll leave them overnight for the glue to set, and in the meantime I'll make the legs.
Make sure you get your clamps ready and then apply glue. Work quickly, but no need to rush. Tighten the clamps evenly along the pieces and just relax the clamp pressure. If they move, then line them up again.
Righto, I've taken these out of the clamps. I've come along when the glue was skinned over with a putty knife and just cleaned up the extra glue squeeze out. As you can see on the back side, there's clamp marks and what have you. We'll take them off with a chisel. Then we'll go about flattening this whole surface and cutting a circle. Let's go.
Use a chisel to remove any excess hardened glue. Once you're finished with that, you can plane the surface with a smoothing plane and remove the rest. This will leave you with a reasonably flat surface.
Wow, that's a workout. I've just flattened both sides, taken the glue marks out. There's a little bit left here, but that doesn't matter. We'll fix that later on. Essentially, this is ready now so that we can mark our circle, put our layout lines for where our legs are going, and we can begin to make it look like a stool.
I use a 120mm long piece of scrap with a notch cut in one end for the pencil and a hole drilled in the other to take a small nail. This becomes a makeshift compass. I'm using a digital bevel set to 120 degrees and marking the locations for the three legs 30mm in from the edge. As you can see, it doesn't have to be exact. Once you've marked the seat and leg location, cut the seat at the bandsaw if you want to cheat like me. Otherwise, hack at it with chisels and a handsaw, I guess. When you've cut the seat, mark a line about 5mm or so in from the edge, around the seat and also on the face. We use a spoke shave to round over or bevel the edge to the lines that we've previously marked.
Well, another workout. So I've just put a little round over on here. We'll clean that up with sandpaper. So you can see I wasn't too critical with the lines. It doesn't really matter. We'll clean that up later on after we put the legs on. That's the top, that's the underside. We're going to do the second side. We're going to do the top now, put the little round over / bevel on that. I'm not going to film that. You can do the same thing as you did on the bottom. So what we might do is put the legs on now, or at least drill the holes. Let's go.
I set the sliding bevel to approximately 100 degrees and clamp it to the bottom of the seat. I used the bevel as a guide when drilling and tried to follow it from the top as well, but as you'll see later, this wasn't 100% accurate. Just repeat the process for the other holes. To make the legs, start by rough cutting them at the bandsaw. Now of course I missed this in the video, but trace around a 10-cent piece on one end and a 20-cent piece on the other end, making sure they're marked in the corner opposite where the two tapers are going. Mark out the taper on all of the legs so we know where to stop planing. You can see the circles I previously marked in this part of the video. Plane down to the lines and do this for two adjacent sides and ends to create the taper. Just don't plane this fast.
Wow, what a workout. This is now tapered to the right profile that I need. I'll round over the corners so that so it looks more like a leg. I'll use the spoke shape for that. I'll show you how to do that now. Let's go.
Set the spoke shape to a relatively shallow cut and just take down the corners to a round over first. Repeat this method of rounding over on all four corners and make sure you stop at the circle that is marked on the ends. This is really only critical on the end that goes into the seat, as we don't want it to be a smaller diameter than the hole we'll drill. Make sure you move to the opposite end and round over the entire leg using this method. Don't forget, you can use the seat to test fit the tenon and refine it as necessary. Next, we need to cut a slot in the legs with the grain in order for us to insert a wedge. Just mark it out and cut it with a handsaw. To make the wedges, I simply used a scrap piece of hardwood as wide as the tenon. I then planed it to a taper with a block plane, then sanded it smooth and cut it to about 35 to 40 millimeters long.
Alright, cut my wedges, cut my slots in my legs, and we're ready to move on to sanding the base. Sanding it while it's apart, much easier than sanding it while it's glued together. So we'll do that now.
so just use any method you want to sand the pieces. I also take this opportunity to refine the roundover that I created with the spoke shave earlier. I cheated again by using power tools, but feel free to do this by hand if you're so inclined. As you can see, you do need to do some of it by hand anyway.
It's important when you glue up that you've got everything on hand. I've got my dead blow hammer if I need it, I've got my mallet, my glue brush, glue, I've got a cloth to wipe up any spills that I may have, and a little tub of water. So I think I'm ready to go. What we do, we just put our glue on both surfaces, spread it evenly, that's all we want. Just a nice even coat of glue. I would normally put it inside there as well, but I think with a wedge it's probably not going to happen. Now this is the top and this is the bottom. You can see there's a dot there. We'll just orient the grain so that it goes sideways. Just put that in there to set it in for the time being. A quick few taps, make sure that it's nice and flat. Beautiful. It should be ready to wipe off some of the excess around here, just so we don't get glue all over our fingers when we touch it. Alright, so we've got our wedges ready. 3 wedges. I'm going to put some glue in there and on the wedge.
Just insert the wedges with some glue on them and tap them lightly with a mallet. I ended up using a dead blow hammer to ensure they were inserted as far as I could get them.
So we see the grain on the seat is going this way, and the reason that the tenons go across is because if they were that way and I drive a wedge in it, the seat would split down here and up here. So we've got to go essentially across the grain with our wedges, and that holds the seat in. We are almost done with this stool. All I've got to do now is cut these flush to the top. We'll do that with a flush cut saw. It's not actually a flush cut saw, but it'll be close enough. Then we'll give the top a sand, 120, 180, and it'll be ready for stain. So I'll come back tomorrow and I'll catch you then. Well, I've left this overnight. It's time now to saw these off with a flush cut saw. It's not really a flush cut saw, but we'll go into that in a second, and fill the holes.
Now this is a Veritas dovetail saw, and it doesn't leave a mark on the seat from the saw teeth when I'm cutting the tenons off. I came back with a block plane afterwards to get them flush. Just don't make the cut too deep like I did. Now if you ended up with gaps in your seat like I did, fill them with wood putty. I like to use Timbermate brand, and you can buy this at Bunnings.
Alright, as you've seen, I've put some putty in those holes. You will see it. It's a dodgy repair, but what do you do? People make mistakes. So that's one way of fixing that. So when this is dried up and it becomes hard and brittle, we'll sand all of this back. It'll look okay. We'll sand the underside again by hand with some sandpaper, and then it'll be ready for finish. Rightio, so I've come back and sanded this. The putty's all gone. It's nice and flat, ready for finish. I'm going to call that job done. There will be a separate finishing video for this one and the power tool version. I'm going to move on to filming the power tool version. I'll catch you in that episode. Thanks for watching.